Hey everybody, this is Josh Paul, host of the Small Marketing Teams podcast. I'm really glad that you're checking out the show today. If you're trying to grow your business and you're not a household name or a well-funded startup, you need to do things differently, and that's what we get into on this podcast. If that's you, go ahead and click subscribe on the screen right now so that you'll get notified when we put out new tips, new tutorials, and new advice for small marketing and sales teams. So this is why it's really important that marketing and sales work together, and that marketing and sales data, that lead intelligence, be readily available. Small Marketing Teams, episode 28.
You're listening to the Small Marketing Team Show with Josh Paul, the podcast where you'll learn how to achieve big growth without a big budget.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to today's session of the Small Marketing Teams Show, the podcast that marketers, salespeople, and business owners rely on to learn how to do more with less. Each week, I'll teach you how you can grow your company without the big budgets that we associate with marketing today. Whether you're the only marketer in your company, and you're also the salesperson, the CEO, and the person who does payroll, or you have a marketing team big enough to need an org chart, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Josh Paul. Let's get started. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of the Small Marketing Teams podcast. I'm so glad that you can make it today. I want to share some advice for you that I was giving recently to a sales team that I was coaching because they were having trouble converting inbound leads, top and middle of the funnel leads, into customers. The leads would come in, they'd convert on a product tour or a contact sales form or a webinar landing page, and the sales team was banging their head against the wall because everything that they were trying to do to connect with the people in the top and the middle of the funnel was not working. Their messaging was not resonating, and they were starting to get discouraged. And the exercise we went through opened their eyes to a significant amount of data and insight into that lead that they didn't know that they had. When they would see a new lead assigned to them, they would look at what that lead did to get into their lead capture system. They filled out a form on a landing page, whether it was a product tour, an ebook, a checklist, or a webinar landing page. And they would reach out to that lead, trying to make the connection between the value of their solution and the value of the page that they converted on. If it was a webinar about solving a specific problem, then they would reach out to them and mainly talking about their solution and the benefit that it provided. In a vacuum, your solution does provide a benefit. Whatever you're selling, your product or service, it does provide a benefit. But the process that we put in place with the sales team that opened their eyes and saw them starting to connect with leads and convert leads and get into sales conversations didn't have to do with their product or service at that point. It has to do with the entire customer experience. Now, customer experience is a buzzword that's tossed around all over the place, but what I'm talking about here is from the minute that your brand gets into their solar system, gets into their orbit, what are their interactions? What are the messages that they're getting? And most importantly, what is getting them to move forward down the funnel? So we restructured their CRM system to make sure that all of that data was at their fingertips, starting with the ad that they saw, the first ad that they saw on Facebook or LinkedIn or Google. What was the messaging in that ad? And you start to build a story because after that ad, you see that they clicked on that and got to a landing page for a webinar. What was the messaging on the landing page for the webinar that got them to sign up for the webinar? What was the value that they were looking for? And you can tell by the copy on that webinar, the headlines, the webinar landing page copy. What was it that got them to sign up saying, I'm interested in learning more about that. I'm interested in solving that problem. I'm looking for answers. So what was that in between the ad and that landing page and then the thank you page that takes them to the product tour? And the copy on that page tells you exactly what they're looking for and what got them to move down your funnel. So by the time they convert on that product tour or they fill out that contact sales page, you have the entire story of what initially got their attention and most importantly, got them to move forward with you down your funnel. And so going into that call, it's not just about your product and service and the fact that they converted on something. You want there to be consistency, just like you want there to be consistency from your ad to your landing page, visually, messaging wise, value wise. And then the thank you page and whatever you want them to convert on that needs to be consistent. And then the sales conversation, the email outreach, the calls, that messaging needs to be the through thread, the continuation of that entire customer journey that they're on. Where you see problems is when salespeople go into that conversation, when it switches from a digital marketing automation play to move them down the funnel to a salesperson actually reaching out, when there's dissonance in that process. And it's very jarring for them to get a different message, a different tone than what they told you was valuable. They told you with their actions and with their conversions. So this is why it's really important that marketing and sales work together, and that marketing and sales data, that lead intelligence, be readily available for the sales team in your sales platform. So the big takeaway here is this. It's not just about them converting and turning into a lead and then talking to them about your product and service. You need to look holistically about their experience with your company, and you have that data in your system, in your marketing system, in your sales system, available to salespeople as to what that story is and what that narrative is, so that you can structure your follow-up around a continuation of that narrative to build rapport, build that relationship, and eventually get them to see your solution.